What's up, guys? Welcome back to Streetcar Shenanigans YouTube channel. If you are new to the channel, you have not watched any videos before, please do so after watching this one. And make sure you're subscribing down below, leave a comment, let us know you're new. But we are a performance shop in Antioch, Illinois. We do automotive performance repair and upgrades, and we pretty much have no limit on what we will do for you. So today's video, we want to do a couple different things. We want to introduce 2 new projects you guys will see videos on throughout the next few weeks. And we also want to show you an update on a car that you guys seen a long time ago and you haven't really seen much on. And that's what today's video is going to be about. So stay tuned, subscribe down below, and let's get started. Alright guys, welcome back. So today we are working on a 1964 convertible Falcon. Now this thing is pretty sweet. And we stumbled upon it on accident. Somebody came in and said, hey, we have a car being built at a shop down the street. They're kind of slacking on it. I think I'm paying too much, yada, 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 the whole song and dance. And we're curious if you guys can finish it for us. So we said, yeah, we can get you on the calendar, and we can get it in eventually. So we finally got it dropped off here, and we want to introduce it to you guys. It's not a complete build by us. Dan, how many people have touched it before us? 3 now? There's been a handful of people who've worked on this car prior to it even showing up at our shop, but it does sound like a cool project, so we were interested. It has a PA Performance C4 with a 3500 stall converter. It has a carbureted 347 with an X cam, some decent heads, a Victor Jr. intake manifold, and a 750 carburetor. It's got a ready-to-run distributor that we have to install, coil we have to install. We got to do a lot of the little odds and ends. Now, it always seems like, oh, well, all there is left is a little bit, but it's always the last 10% that takes 90% of the time. It only takes a few hours to take an engine out or to put an engine back in, but it takes a long time to hook up all the gauges, make sure the fuel system doesn't leak, hook up a sending unit. All that little stuff adds up to big time. So that's what we're doing on this. We're going to be doing a custom exhaust on it. But enough of talking about what we're doing on it. Let's show you the car, and we'll bring some progress upgrades along the way. Now Dan's actually been working on the car for the last 2 days, so I'm gonna let him do the introduction on what he knows on it. Dan, what do you know about this stellar ride so far?
Well, I was gonna do it.
So it's got a big front sump pan, March accessory drive you got from us. That was how we introduced himself to us, was getting some parts.
Needed parts urgent or whatever, right?
Yeah.
End up not even putting them on. Here we are.
It does have a 1-wire alternator conversion that we have to work on. And I looked up the wiring diagram for that last night. Converting a Falcon, which normally has a generator and a bunch of other junk on it. This is going to be changed. Has 4-wheel disc brakes, Willwoods all the way around. It's got a Strange / VRN 9-inch in it. It is pretty cool. A couple things we don't like. We don't like that it's going to have a pusher fan on the front of the radiator. Not a fan, so we'll see how that goes. No pun intended. And that's pretty much it. Otherwise, it's, relatively basic. Should be simple. We are going to have to do a custom exhaust. So we'll probably do a X pipe here, and then maybe do a couple Pro XS Borlas like we usually do. He wants just axle dumps. He doesn't want to have any tailpipes on anything. That tire is mounted backwards, so we gotta get that fixed. All the steering and everything is new, so it's a relatively simple build. Cars like this are pretty simple. So it shouldn't be much longer before we are able to get this thing some fuel pressure and crank it. We put a painless auxiliary wiring block in it, distribution block. So that allowed us to have 4 additional key-on ignition power sources and 3 constant power sources. And that's going to help us wire up the ignition that it has, the electric fuel pump that it has now, and all those things cleanly without tapping into the 100-year-old wiring that's in it already, which leads to issues and problems and feedback and all that stuff that you don't want. So it's just easier. Put a painless box in it. It's triggered by a relay with a, I think all it needs is like 3 amps to trigger the whole ignition hot side. Constant power fused link to the battery direct, and obviously it'll make it easier to run any electronics that this thing has. He already has a stereo in it. That's why he went to a bigger alternator, and hopefully that alternator's enough, but I don't think he'll have a problem with that whatsoever. I think he's gonna have a bigger problem with maybe axle wrap. It doesn't really have like a Caltrack system on it, but we'll see. I don't think those little 225s really stand a chance for that 347 that could hypothetically make, you know, 450 to 500 flywheel horsepower pretty easily. I had a pretty similar setup in my Notch, and it was a good time. And this car probably weighs about the same, but with the top down. So that's the Falcon project. We'll bring you updates as we work on this today. I want to introduce to you guys another project, since we're on the same video, which is this white Notchback. Now you guys have not seen anything on this project either. Reason being, we started doing this project with our old camera, and you guys heard that a million times if you're a subscriber. But the camera was stolen. We have a new camera, which is now in 4K, so thumbs up for that. And we are trucking along on this now. We've ran into a few part snafus lately, which is the reason why the engine is sitting here ready to go on the K-member, but the motor mounts that we were sent were incorrect. So that's ready to go on the K-member, so we can get that in the car and then start working on the Holly. Now this car belongs to friends of Brian. It's Holly's and Don's car, mostly Holly's car. And we are putting a Holly standalone, a Vortec, solid steering shaft, full exhaust. And I think that pretty much wraps it up. You know, some fuel system upgrades. It's going to be a 400, 450 wheel horsepower, supercharged Streetcar. The Holly is on there for future use. So it's getting a stock block 306. It has a forged crank, forged rods, forged pistons. It has skip white, like the Chinese casting that are all rebuilt. I think they call them a 190 head. They might call it a 180, somewhere in there. BBK shorties. It's getting a Kenny Brown built AOD with matching converter. Trick flow street heat intake manifold. It's going to get like 40-pound injectors, which is all it'll need on pump gas. It has a dual sync distributor to go with the Holly, and then everything else is pretty much factory. We did powder coat and paint everything, aside from the AC compressor, as you can tell. So everything is going to be done in black. It's going to look really sweet. We got the catch can adapters on it, so we can put some Dash 10 catch can lines on it. We got all the Vortec bracketry powder coated black. So this stuff all looks really good. Look at that, I like that. All the tensioners and everything. The hardware kit, it was missing a bunch of hardware, so that's coming today. And then hopefully we can get the engine on the cradle and in the car. That's the goal. Then we can start tucking wiring and hiding stuff because we want it to look pretty nice. I would consider this a budget build. We are not getting like super crazy. We're not changing the K-member. We're not painting the engine bay. We're not customizing the install to the fullest extent. Which saves a lot of money because those things are all really time consuming. So, you know, obviously we have a lot of time in swapping stuff over to the engine, and we're going to have a lot of time in installing the Holly and the fuel system. And we did do a little bit of rust repair in the engine bay, but for the most part, it's a pretty straightforward process. And we're really excited to drive it because it's going to be a super reliable, consistent, fun car for Holly to drive around. So, all right, so those are the two projects that you guys are going to be seeing on the upcoming videos. You'll have a few, what's the word I'm looking for, Dan? So those are the two big projects that we're working on this side of the shop. You'll obviously see some other smaller projects going on this week, or these next couple weeks. We have a dual sync upgrade that we need to do on the On3 Turbo Fox to get rid of the TFI and PIP sensor. So we're going to change that over on the Mega Square to a dual sync. We're going to probably be doing that this weekend. The Lightning, which you guys saw the last video, and I said you won't see it in another video, but that's getting its Caltrax today, so it can leave. All right, so now that you guys know what to tune in for and subscribe for the next couple of videos, we just covered the projects that we're working on. Let's catch up on an old project that was here. We put a built motor in it last year. It is a Tork Tech 2-valve. It has a M112 Magnuson blower on it, which those should support about 600 flywheel, 650 flywheel horsepower in the right application. Previously, it was on this car, stock motor. It hurt itself. It probably made, I don't know, 380 wheel horsepower or so on a good day. And he brought it here. We did a built motor, camshafts. You guys saw all that on the channel last year. And then now he brought it for E85, subframe connectors, upper housing bushings for the control arms, and miscellaneous other things that needed to be addressed. We finally got it on the dyno, and we want to share with you the numbers. We're pretty happy with it. And let's get into that at ASSC. We were just there the other day dynoing it, and then you guys will see here shortly us driving it in an upcoming video. So let's get into it. All right, guys, so there you have it. There is the dyno videos on the 2-valve. We're pretty happy with the numbers. We thought it would make about 600 flywheel after, obviously, the 3 pulls that it made. We ended up at 480 foot-pounds of torque and 470 horsepower at about 6,500 RPM. The peak torque number was at like 3,200 or so. So it's going to be an awesome car on the street. It's very respectable for the 2-valve with that type of blower on it. And we're really happy to give it back to John and John so they can go beat it up and test it to the max, as we know they will. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have, please subscribe down below. Let us know what you think about the videos in the comments, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching.